Hey guys, this is Owen Skornik-Hayes from 747 Northwest Sports, also known as head of Oregon State University Media Communications, and today I'd like to talk about the upcoming season for the Oregon State Beavers. As most college football fans will know, they finished off the regular season last year with a 9-3 record and a bowl berth to the Alamo Bowl to play against Texas, where they lost 31-27. Their first game will be played in Oregon State against the Eastern Washington Eagles. Now, the Eastern Washington Eagles, being an FCS team from the get-go, are, looking like underdogs. However, they do have a great wide receiver in Brandon Kaufman and a good quarterback in Kyle Padron, who threw for 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Brandon Kaufman received for 1,850 yards. However, going up against an Oregon State secondary such as Rashad Reynolds and Ryan Murphy, it's going to be just tough, and expect Oregon State to blow them out and go 1-0 in the early season. Now, don't expect Oregon State's second game of the season to be much different. It will be against the Hawaii Warriors. Now, last year, the Hawaii Warriors finished with a 3-9 record, which is mediocre at best, if not just horrible. And with a quarterback with Sean Schroeder, who threw for 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions last year, and a running back with Will Gregory, who only ran for 723 yards, that's a mediocre offensive performance. Billy Ray Stutzman, their wide receiver, caught the most yards with 447, and Hawaii's highest tackling mark was only 40. So I'm thinking an Oregon State offense is going to be running all over this defense with quarterbacks such as Cody Vatz and Sean Mannion, and a great running back in Storm Woods. I can definitely see this one going to be maybe a 3-touchdown win for the Beavers. Now, the third game for the season of the Beavers will also be their first road game. It will be played in Utah against the Utes. Last year, the Utes went 5-7, and the Beavers beat them 21-7 by 2-touchdown margin. This year, I'm thinking the result will be the same, with the Beavers win relative to 2 touchdowns. The Utah Utes do have an okay defense with a mediocre passing attack and a pretty good rushing attack. I'm expecting the Beavers to win this game and go 3-0. Their fourth game will be played against San Diego State University, also known as the Aztecs. I find that the Aztecs are frequently one of the more underrated teams in the NCAA. They have an extremely efficient rushing and passing attack, which makes for an excellent offense and quite a good defense, with 94 tackles being their highest mark. I do believe San Diego State will be the first real challenge for Oregon State. I'm going to say that this game could go into overtime, but I do believe Oregon State can win by a touchdown, maybe a field goal. For their fifth game, the Oregon State Beavers will face the Colorado Buffaloes. In my mind, this game is really no contest. Last year, the Buffaloes only won 1 game out of 12, with just a mediocre passing attack, a measly rushing attack, and a very lacking defense. I'm expecting the Oregon State Beavers to pull off what everyone expects with probably a 4 or 5 touchdown win. Their sixth game will be played against Washington State. Now, in the past, Washington State have proved they can beat better competition. For example, last year's Apple Cup, where they knocked off the Washington Huskies. However, with a 3-9 mark last year, with a pretty decent quarterback and a couple of pretty good defensive players, they still had a mediocre rushing game. And I think in the end, the rushing game is going to be what kills them, and what will end up as a 6-0 record for the Oregon State Beavers, and probably a 3-touchdown win. For their seventh game, the Oregon State Beavers will be playing the Cal Berkeley Golden Bears. Last year, the Bears went 3-9, similar to the Washington State Cougars. Now, last year, they had a pretty decent rushing game, a standard passing game, and an okay defense. See, with the Cal Berkeley Golden Bears, we can look back at last season's matchup in which the Oregon State Beavers blew them out 62-14. Expect to see something pretty similar this year, in what I think will be a 7-0 record for the Beavers, and probably just a blowout win. Their next game will be against the Stanford Cardinal. Last year, the Stanford Cardinals had one of the best defenses in the Pac-12, if not the best defense, one of the best defenses in the entire NCAA. So last year, people thought that Stanford wouldn't be as good because they lost Andrew Luck. Well, not the case. Kevin Hogan stepped up and replaced Andrew Luck's spot pretty nicely. And as well, with the great defense and a decent rushing attack, well, last year, great rushing attack. This year, probably a decent rushing attack. I think that the Stanford defense is going to stop the Oregon State offense, and it will go down as Oregon State's first loss of the season and a 7-1 mark. For the next game, the Beavers will play the Trojans. The Trojans had a very disappointing season last year, finishing unranked after being ranked number 1 overall for the beginning of the season. With the loss of Matt Barkley and the incoming of Max Whittick, I don't think their season will be terribly different from how it was last year. They do still have Marquise Lee, their superstar wide receiver, who will help. And their decent rushing game may continue, as well as their pretty good defense. I still think Oregon State will win this game by a 2-touchdown mark. Their 10th game will be in Tempe against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Last year, the Sun Devils went 8-5 with a pretty decent mark for the Pac-12. They did lose to Oregon State last year, 36-26. With their decent offense and pretty good defense, I could see them posing a threat to Oregon State in the beginning, but ultimately losing by about 10 points. For their second-to-last regular season game, the Beavers will play the Huskies. The Huskies had a 7-5 regular season mark last year, and with an explosive offense with Keshawn Williams at wide receiver, Bishop Sankey at running back, and Keith Price at quarterback, they are definitely a threat to Oregon State. However, I believe Oregon State kicks a last-minute field goal to win the game and go 10-1. Their final game of the season will be, of course, the Civil War against the Oregon Ducks. Now, the Ducks have one of the best offenses in the NCAA, if not the best. With Marcus Mariota and Kenjon Barner and a fairly good defense, I could see the Civil War being competitive this year, but ultimately Oregon pulling away and giving Oregon State their second loss of the regular season. Okay guys, so there you have it. I have the Beavers going 10-2 this upcoming season. As for our site, give it a look. Link is in the description. Go ahead and check it out. It's still a work in progress, but just, give it a shot. Also, like us on Facebook at 747NW Sports and put any advice you might have. Thanks for watching, guys.